Welcome back to episode 49. We've been away for the Christmas break, so we're back in action again, and plenty of Chinese mics have arrived for us to sort of do some nice videos about things that might be good to buy or maybe not. The microphone that we're going to use as a comparison with today, for a very obvious reason in a second, is an AKG 414. Large diaphragm condenser, multiple patterns because there are actually two elements in the unit. So we've actually got cardioid, we've got figure of 8, and we've got omni, and we've also got a couple of in-between positions as well. And these are quite useful mics. You select the pickup pattern on the front, and on the rear we've got some filters and we've got a pad. So a pretty versatile unit, and I like these because they just sound nice. The microphone we're going to be comparing today has an extremely weird name. It's called Seeknature. Now, presumably somebody in China thought that was a pretty good name for a microphone, but I'm not sure Seeknature is going to stick in my head that much. But it looks rather familiar, doesn't it? In actual fact, if you have it in your hand, it's a fairly chunky microphone. There are very obvious comparisons here, aren't there? So we've got a gold grill and a silver grill, but no buttons at all. So the microphone is padless, has no attempt at sort of offering you filtering, but it is a cast base. It's a heavy mic, and inside we've got a little tiny PCB with the electronics on, and then the top unit is built rather unusually. What do I mean? Well, it's about a 20mm condenser. So it's an electret. So it will operate down to about 5 volts or so. So you can plug it into computers and things like that. It doesn't need the 48 volt phantom. It's happy to operate on it, but it will work on ordinary DC power as well. As I look through the grill here, it looks like it's a large diaphragm. But inside, there's actually an aluminium ring that's actually been drilled with lots of little cavities. And then an ordinary 20mm electret mic is stuck in the middle. There's nothing wrong with a 20mm electret. I mean, there's loads and loads of mics that have got sort of small diaphragm elements like this. And they all sound a bit bright, but they're okay. With this particular one, they've gone to the trouble of machining out of aluminium this block that you mount the smaller unit in. I don't quite know why they bothered. I mean, they could have made it out of plastic. It's inside and you wouldn't really have seen it. But it does give the microphone considerable weight. I doubt very much it's doing anything for the sound. It's actually even constructed the same way. It's got the 2 screws at the bottom, like the AKG 414. And when you undo those 2 screws, the grill lifts off, revealing a little PCB inside. And it's pretty nicely made. To make this fair, I've mounted the Seeknature next door to the 414, and next door to that is the SM7B we always use for comparisons. And they're all exactly the same distance from my mouth, which is, in my case, a handspan, which is about 10 inches. So they're all exactly the same distance from my mouth, and we can switch between them and we can get some good impressions of what's going on. We're now on the Shure SM7B, the one we always use for our comparisons, and it sounds like a typical dynamic used close in. It's very sort of radio style, it's warm, it's nice, it's quite smooth. And if we switch across to the 414, we're now on the 414, and there is a difference, of course. The 414 is more crisp up the top. It's still quite warm at the bottom, I think, and I'd be happy to choose either of these. It wouldn't really worry me which one I use for these videos. We standardise on the SM7B, but the 414 would have been a decent choice. If we now move across to the Seeknature, we're now on the Seeknature. Now, the Seeknature is an electret condenser, so it's a small diaphragm condenser. And as with all small diaphragm condensers, it's got that sort of brightness at the top. It's a very clean sounding mic. And I don't think you could really call it warm. In actual fact, it does sound to me like it's a bit lacking at the bass end. Now, I don't have any specs on the mic, so I don't know what the bass end is supposed to be like. But there is a difference. So let's go from the Seeknature back to the 414. We're on the 414. And as we can really comparing two condensers, there's not really much point keep talking about the SM7B. It's there in the background. I won't use it at the moment. So we're on the 414. Now we're going to go back to the Seeknature, and so now we're on the Seeknature. There is definitely a difference, isn't there, between the two microphones. The other difference, of course, is that the 414 is considerably more expensive. So in actual fact, the Seeknature is less than £50, and the 414 is going to set you back the best part of 900, maybe even a bit more. So there is a sizable difference in the price. The thing is with all these microphones is that the price is important. Now, at about 50 quid, you could afford to buy two of the Seeknatures, have a stereo pair, or just use them as two separate microphones for about the same price as you're going to pay for an SM58. So you've got to get these things into a sort of balance, really. Yeah, it's a cheap mic. It doesn't sound as nice as a microphone that costs many hundreds of pounds, but that's not really what you're doing, is it? I mean, if you wanted to buy an AKG 414, or you wanted to buy any of the other reasonable, well-known condensers, they're a lot of dosh. So the choice to be made is, for 50 quid, is this one worth buying? I tend to think it is. While we've been talking, we're switching backwards and forwards. It gives you a good indication of which one's which. Now, obviously, we're just looking at sort of, it's not like and like, is it? We've got a well-known, established microphone compared to a completely random, never heard before microphone. You have to make that decision as to whether the microphone sound quality is something that you can use or not. Now, if you like bright sounding microphones, it could be one to go for. If you're looking for something mellow and smooth, probably not. But you know what you want to record better than I do. I'm just doing a comparison between the two. And I think there is a place for them. It's perhaps a bit of a limited place if you wanted to record low frequency instruments. So bass guitars, double basses for certain. If you wanted to use it on a piano that's got, a fairly strident bass end, maybe it's not the mic for you. But it definitely has a place. It's extremely well made. I can't complain about the build quality whatsoever. I'm a bit dubious about the name, but I guess we can even live with that. But that's it. The Seeknature versus the AKG 414. I guess you've got to make your choice, haven't you? It's a difficult one, and it is one of those microphones that probably doesn't suit everything. But what it does do well is record things that have got a very detailed high end. So I think that's pretty decent. Well worth the consideration, I think. Anyway, that's the video, the first one back after Christmas. We've got plenty more Chinese microphones to review, plus a load of other gizmos too. So check back soon. If you want to check back, easiest way, just subscribe, and then you'll get an automatic notification when I produce the new videos. So you'll be able to see the next ones in the series. So look after yourselves. Take care.